तू चलता चल तू चलता चल तू चलता चल तू बढ़ता चल तू बढ़ता चल तू बढ़ता चल
You see, tension along the LSE has been there in the news. It is coming. Defense Minister is talking. Chief has already spoken. We are hearing that there's talk going to take place between the Corps Commander level, Lieutenant General level, our 14 Corps Commander, the GOC of 3 has already spoken to his counterpart. So all these things have been going on. So I will discuss the reasons for the tension, what is the likely outcome, and what is going to be the impact on Asia and the world. You see, that Tibet was annexed forcibly by China in 1950 is an important point between India-China relations. And this became even more significant when Dalai Lama escaped to India in 1959. And since then, uh, it is the so-called government in exile, which is there in India, of Dalai Lama. And this, for China, is a core issue between our relations. It is a very sore point as far as China is concerned. Thereafter, in 1960, China offered us a package deal. It was a pretty simple package deal, and in that, they said that you accept our occupation of Aksai Chin and we will accept your occupation of the areas in the eastern sector, that is the Arunachal Pradesh area. That was the broad package deal, which India did not accept because our outlook was that whatever was the boundary line we inherited from British India, that should continue to be the boundary line as far as we are concerned. And most of the LAC, as per us, followed the principle of the watershed and the McMahon line. So, this was what it is, so we did not accept it, and this led to the 62 war, which lasted barely 1 month. And I don't think I have not been a very good student of history, but I do not know of any war where the aim of the aggressor was to teach the other country a lesson. So that was the aim of war, as far as China was concerned. And they did abide by this aim because India was beaten in this war. And not in all the sectors, some places we fought well, you can check out the history. But in the eastern sector, we were badly thrashed, where 4 corps were newly established. General Bridgemoor Col, very close to Prime Minister Nehru and Krishna Menon, was the corps commander. And it was said that had Bridgemoor Col not been defeated, then he would have become the next Prime Minister of India after 1962. That is after Prime Minister Nehru. That was what it was. So he had such major political influence at that time. What you may be seeing sometime, Karan Thapar, who takes interviews for the Wire, his father used to be the chief of the army, and who was a rather weak chief. And Krishna Menon was a rather strong defense minister who did not consider the IQ of the generals of as much high, and he used to bulldoze his way through. To some extent, this was true for Prime Minister Nehru also. So in 62, what happened was we were beaten. And after that, China made gains in about 2,000 square kilometers in the area of Ladakh. balance, they unilaterally announced the ceasefire and withdrew well behind the McMahon line. And since then, that has been the de facto LAC, which has been recognized by both the countries. All our territory which they had captured was returned by China to us. Of course, Aksai Chin area, they were already holding on to, they continued to hold on. Since then, things they have not been the last incident where we had firing of bullets was long back in 1967, which you can read. A lot of literature is available on the Nathula incident, and India likes to talk about it a lot, where we say that we gave a bloody nose and all to China. I will reserve my comments whether we gave a bloody nose or not. Nothing much happened, but casualties were suffered by both sides. And unlike the war of 1962, where in the eastern sector Indian troops kept running, including the commanders, this did not happen in 1967. We faced Chinese on equal terms. Since then, there has not been a bullet fired. Thereafter, situations remained tense till we reached a stage when Rajiv Gandhi was our Prime Minister and Deng Xiaoping, a very pragmatic person, was heading China. And that is the time talks took place between them. And I don't remember whether this package deal was again offered or not. May have been offered, unlikely to have been accepted because there was always a lot of public pressure is there. India has a very this strange concept. It started from the Mahabharata time when Duryodhan said, "Not even 1 inch of ground I will give to the Pandavas," and that had led to Mahabharata. So this kind of outlook of 1 inch land and all that has always been there in India. So public sentiment gets whipped up and all that. Opposition would have made hue and cry and all that. Anyway, whatever the reasons, I don't think it was accepted. I don't have evidence whether it was offered also or not. Anyway, what happened was that both countries decided to move on. They said, okay, we will keep sorting out the border. And for that, they established a joint working group. And they said that we will keep having talks and we will, in a spirit of mutual give and take, we will resolve the LAC of about 4,000 kilometers. And while this is going on, let us move on in improving our trade relations. So that trade relations and all did pick up. And as you now know how much the trade has increased, and that thing is there. So the joint working group kept working. Now, that time, I was already in service. I got commissioned in 1982. I was a junior captain. I had not served on the China border till then. But we were hearing what is happening. So I, as a normal citizen and as an army person, felt that probably in due course things will get resolved, because there was a lot of coverage and all that when these meetings started between the joint working groups. Soon we realized that actually China was just talking. It had no desire to resolve the border through these talks of joint working group. So since 1988, talks have been going on, but there has not been a resolution of even 1 inch of ground. I take it that their desire of keeping the border unresolved is a deliberate action, because they feel that this is something which they can use as a tool to create trouble for us whenever need arises. A very normal need could be that their very close ally Pakistan is at war with India, and they are feeling pressurized, and India is in a position to make use of its complete military potential, and that is the time China can raise something on the LAC to keep our land and air troops engaged on the eastern side, and we are unable to shift troops towards the Pakistan border. This is the one very, very simple, discernible reason for keeping the LAC alive. Okay. However, one thing happened that post this 88, both decided that they will resolve things through talks. So whenever tensions have been there have been talks, and slowly situation has got diffused. No bullets have got fired, and both have decided not to undertake any construction activities in the disputed areas. As far as trade is concerned, you know now that India's imports from China are about $70 billion per year, and our exports are about 17 billion. So we have a great trade deficit. One important thing which all these people who start talking about, boycott China and all that stuff, they do not highlight a very important point, and that is India is more dependent on China for trade than the other way around. If China stops trading with us, they will lose some business, but it will not break their economic back. But India will suffer greatly. If you can see the cheap electronic equipment, the solar panels and things like that, they have all come from China. Our pharma industry gets its basic ingredients from China. So we are far more dependent on China. That is the situation. Primarily, our exports consist of cotton, copper, diamonds, natural gems, basically raw stuff. And we get imports of machinery, power related equipment, telecom, chemicals, fertilizers, and so on.